Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Question is asking here, can a woman on her menses enter into the masjid? Now, there are two views from the ulama. You've got the view of the majority. The view of the majority is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, Ya alladhina amanu la taqrabu salat. Do not approach the salat. Wa antum sukara, whilst you're in a state of intoxication. حتى تعلموا ما تقولون, until you know what it is that you are saying, meaning until the intoxication wears off. ولا جنبا إلا عابري سبيل حتى تغتسلوا, and a person who is in janaba, unless if they are passing by, until they have washed themselves and removed that major state of janaba. This is the view of the majority of the ulama, that a woman on her menses or a man who is in janaba is not allowed to enter into the masjid. And this is the view of the four madhabs, and it is the view of the majority of the salaf. The view of the Zahiriyah, and it is also the view of some of the hadith, and it is the view of Shaykh al-Albani from the contemporaries, may Allah have mercy on them all, is that women can enter into the masjid whilst she's on the state of menses. What are the evidences? The evidences is, number one, there is nothing to prevent it. Where is your dalil to say that she is not allowed to enter into the masjid? Number two, they have said this ayah here, لا تقربوا الصلاة, salah means salah. And this is also the interpretation, tafsir given by Abu Hanifa himself as well. Salah here refers to salah. وأنتم سكارى. So what they have said, you are not allowed to pray whilst you're in a state of intoxication. You can't apply this to the masjid. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا جُنْبًا إِلَّا عَبِرِ السَّبِيلِ حَتَّى تَغْتَسِلُوا. Janaba is different to hayd. This is the view of, like I've said, the second view from the ulama. A third piece of evidence that they use is the fact that people used to live in the masjid from Ahl al-Suffah, people that were poor, and it is not conceivable for us to understand that you've got a large amount of men that are living in the masjid, that they're not going to have incidents where they enter into major impurity. Therefore, they lived in the masjid. This is the argument of those people who say it is permissible for women to enter into the masjid once in the state of menses. The majority of the ulama have said no. The ayah refers to the masjid. يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَقْرَبُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَنْتُمْ سُكَارَى. Salah here refers to the masjid. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses masjid and salah interchangeably in the Quran. They are synonymous with one another. So for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا بَنِي آدَمْ خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. Take your adornment, O son of Adam, with every masjid, meaning with every salat. And here, لا تقربوا الصلاة, do not approach the masjid. Salah has been used to refer to the masjid. And this is the view of the majority of the ulama, from the ulama of the people of tafsir. So that answers that now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the masjid. Do not come to the masjid whilst you're in a state of intoxication, until the intoxication will worn off. وَلَا جُنُبًا إِلَّا عَبِرِ السَّبِيلِ. Is janaba the same as hayd or not? Now, the argument of those who are saying, no, it's not, they would then say, she's allowed to enter the masjid in a state of menses. But we have a hadith from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is reported by Ibn Majah and others, on the authority of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, that he says sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لا يقرأ الجنب والحائد شيء من القرآن. Woman, let me just say that again. A person in janaba and a woman on her menses is not allowed to recite anything from the Quran. This is now teaching us that the person in janaba takes the same ruling, should I say, as the person in hayd. And to emphasize this even more, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, Qatada, Hassan al-Basri, Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, Sa'id bin Jubair, and the list goes on. From the ulama of tafsir, they have said, وَلَا جُنُبٌ إِلَّا عَابِرِ السَّبِيلِ, and no person who is in a state of impurity, major impurity, except if they are passing through, they have said, لَا بَأْسِ لِلْحَائِضِ وَالْجُنُبِ أَن يُمَارَى فِي الْمَسْجِدِ. There is no harm for them to pass through the masjid, مَا لَمْ يَجْلِسَا فِي, as long as they don't stay in the masjid. And again, this is the view of the four madhabs, and as you've heard, from the majority of the salaf who have explained these ayat. And in this also Ibn Abbas is applying La taqrabu salata to the masjid, because he is saying here it is permissible for them to pass through the masjid, but they're not allowed to stay in the masjid. Had as-salat in this ayah not referred to the masjid, then why would he be saying that here? Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. And again, listen, like I'm saying, this is the view of the majority of ulama. Therefore, the argument of the majority of ulama is stronger. In line of Quran, in line of hadith. We also have a hadith in Sahih Muslim, authority Abu Hurairah. Aisha radiallahu anha was on her menses. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to her, can you go get me a thobe that is inside the masjid? So she said, Inni haidun ya Rasulullah, I am on my menses ya Rasulullah. So he said sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Inna haydataki laysa fi yadiki. Your menses is not in your hands. Your menses is not on your hands. So she went and got it and she came back. And this is now in conformance with the ayah and the tafsir of the ayah. The person who's impure is not allowed to enter the masjid illa abini sabili, unless if they are passing through. Now here there's a side note, and I don't think this is much of an issue in our country here, but it is an issue in certain Muslim countries. The ulama have said that you are not allowed to use the masjid as a shortcut, as a cut through. Now you probably won't understand that here living in the West, but in Muslim countries the masajid are open, many doors, many inlets and outlets, etc., many exits and entrances. So sometimes people can use the masjid to cut through, and this is not allowed. But here, illa abni sabil, meaning if they need to pass through, then it is not makruh anymore. And if they need to get something from the masjid, it is not makruh, it is not haram. If they need to drop something off, they need to collect something. If they're on the menses, then there is no harm in that. Ma lam yajlisa fi, as Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, as long as they are not staying in the masjid. And this is now the view of the majority. We have Quran, we have Sunnah which confirms that, we have Sunnah which confirms that the person in Janaba and Hayd take the same ruling as each other when it comes to the Quran. And even if we had no text, then there will definitely be a strong qiyas between that as well as entering the masjid. But there is no need for qiyas if there is text. So we've got Quran, we've got Sunnah, we've got understanding of the Salaf, and this is the view of the majority of ulama. And the other view is respected, inshallah. But the view of the majority is strong, and this is the view of Ibn Abbas and also Uthaymeen and the Lajna Da'ima. May Allah preserve them all and have mercy on those who have passed away. Here, I just want to end by mentioning something which is really important. I mean, as Imam of Masjid and admin of the Masjid, we have come across sometimes people holding a different opinion to the Masjid, whether it's this issue or something else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, Ya alladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul wa ulil amri minkum. Obey Allah, obey Messenger, and those people in authority over you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the trust of responsibility and authority for certain ones from His servants. If the Masjid committee and the Imam of the Masjid and the trustees, etc., have said, these are our policies, then based on this ayah, these policies must be upheld according to the way that the committee and the managerial process of the masjid works. You can't contradict and say, well, this is the house of Allah and I'm not going to listen to you, etc. I'm entitled to my opinion, you don't own it, etc. You can't do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed these people in authority over you. And Imam al-Junnah, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said that the Imam is a shield. Yuttaqa al-Imam wara'ah, he is the one who protects those people behind him. So imagine the people behind him saying, I'm not going to listen to him, I've got a different opinion to that Imam. You can't break away in that manner. If you've got an issue, then take it up with the committee and talk to each other nicely. Ad-din nasiyah, ad-din nasiyah, ad-din nasiyah, he said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So I think this is a very important issue. If the masjid has no policy and says, okay, ahlan wa sahlan, you can stay as long as you don't make a mess, then there's no problem with that. But if the masjid have got a stance, then you need to take that into consideration. And this is not picking on the sisters. Wallahi, this is not a matter of emotion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written it for the daughters of Ibn Adam. But this also applies to people who are elderly. This also applies to children. The issue is, it's not about the sister. This is something that has been written for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for your sabr, and He will reward you for your intention that you wanted to come to the masjid. Here, the ruling is connected to the masjid. How do we respect the masjid? What are the etiquettes of the masjid? And from this we have now learnt that anything which is of janaba or could lead to the spread of janaba is not allowed, and there should be a precaution and a block towards that. And a person might then also argue, and I'm sorry for the length of this, but this is also another argument. People might then use as an argument to say, well, I'll be careful. You see, at the time of the Messenger of Allah, the Sahabiyat were even more careful. Zainab radiallahu anha used to have a rope that she used to attach to, the ceiling or the trees to keep her upright, so she used to be worshipped. These people used to respect and love the masjid and were connected to the masjid even more. They used to come for Salat al-Fajr, as Aisha radiallahu anha said. And we would not be able to distinguish one from another. But they submitted at one time. When it came to the ruling of the masjid, we hear, we obey. Aisha radiallahu anha also says that she didn't used to enter the masjid when the Messenger of Allah was in itikaf, but I used to comb his hair through the window or through, the latch that might have been there. Also proof to say that you are allowed to enter briefly, you are allowed, as long as you do not enter completely. So the point that I'm making here is not about the sisters being prevented. This is about how to have ihtiram and respect towards the masjid, and it applies to brothers equally as it would do to sisters. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to worship in a manner that He is pleased with us with, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitates for us all our affairs, and He makes us of those people who are connected to the masjid, so that we'll be underneath the arsh on the day that there will be no shade except for His. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد.